keyboard. But then like the joystick is like, you know, it's an XY controller. I use it as a pitch controller a lot of times because it makes a lot of sense. You know,
a lot of people listen to like hours and hours and hours of electronic music, probably every week, and we don't really get a chance to see what's going on behind the scenes. So it's really interesting to see how something that's very much present in our lives is actually constructed.
You know, I'm sort of an electronic music performance artist, and what I do is kind of a, you know, a combination of live instrumentation with drum set, and then, you know, various MIDI controllers. And I sing, I run around, I do looping, and it's kind of like a whole live show that integrates video and all sorts of stuff.
I was like especially impressed by a lot of the like manual mapping he does with like I don't know, it's like a really creative process just setting up your own live set.
This is like the fun things. You know, got a Microsoft gamepad here. MIDI Fighter, which is kind of it's made by this company in San Francisco, and it's just like it's a cool controller with arcade buttons, which is, you know, cool, whatever, those can be samples. But the cool thing about it is it has gyros, so you can move it around, and that will send MIDI data to do whatever you want, computer. And then a joystick, which is basically, I use it as a giant XY controller. And again, it's just, I can show you, in a little bit I'll show you kind of the software I use, which, you know, makes this possible to integrate in my setup.
Really interesting to me, like how he thinks about, you know, like implementing like, you know, joysticks and like a Wii remote control into like his setup. But that was cool. So yeah.
You know, yeah, okay. Here's like a. And then I have things like, you know, effect sends on the mics that'll trigger just at certain times.
We both want to go into music, so it's really cool when people show up. We have an opportunity to learn from.
I mean, songwriting is kind of totally separate of my whole tech part of this, you know, in a way. It's like, songwriting is something that, you know, I came to a lot earlier on, and it was just, I don't know, I've never been the kind of person that like sits down with an acoustic guitar and writes like relationship songs. I mean, I've done that before, but it's not really my thing. I don't know, for me, like, as far as musical inspiration, it's just like I just try to listen to lots of music, and then, you know, it'll be like, I like that kind of thing, I want to emulate that. And then once you start emulating, you realize it has nothing to do with what you started with. So for me, I always try to find inspiration from something else, and then you end up with something totally different.
Surprised by how honest and open he was with his answers. I tried to grill him on things that I've been really self-conscious about with the electronic music industry, and yeah, I was really happy with his responses, especially coming from a classical music background and then being dismayed at sometimes the simplicity of electronic music. So it was really cool to hear how he reconciles those two worlds, and then how he brings in really cool custom music technology into his show.
I started as a drummer, and I played in, you know, punk bands and all that kind of stuff. Music, you know, I studied jazz, studied music theory a lot. I took a lot of composition classes, and that's kind of really where I got my start in, you know, thinking about music kind of from this angle, as opposed to being just the dude in the back, you know. The whole thing of being a music student, it's like that amazing thing of like, now you have all these skills that make everything fast and easy to do, but then the other side of that is like, you're stuck with all these rules that don't exist. Like, there are no rules, right? I mean, like, there are rules in the sense that you know now how to make things sound good fast. And that's the great thing about going to music school and understanding those things. But especially for, you know, pop music, commercial music, that whole world, the rules are only as useful as tools that are something that get you somewhere fast, as opposed to, you know, the end all be all, you know.
We play in this band called Psycho Baby, and I think we're both really fascinated by electronic music and would love to sort of incorporate that more, but don't really know how to do it yet. And it's really cool when someone like Robert DeLong shows up, who knows so much and is one of the best people in the field right now. Even though we're not electronic musicians, there's still like so much to be learned from it.
I don't know, and that's the way it's like, to me, if you get started, and this is the way I've always treated anything, you know, creative. It's like, if you get started on something, you'll end up with something, right? And if you can just always just keep getting started on things, you'll find something cool in everything you're doing.
And there aren't that many opportunities to meet living
working
active artists.
Yeah, musicians.
Which is why it's really great that we have this arts weekend.